On today's show, Alperen Sengun badly injured at the end of the Houston Rockets comeback win versus the Sacramento Kings. What we know about the injury so far right now and what it means for Alp and the team moving forward. It's all coming up right here at Locked On Rockets.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up and welcome to another edition of Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. As always, I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, native Houstonian and credentialed media member. I'm also the host of Locked On NBA Mondays. Be sure to follow along on Twitter at JT Gatlin. The show, of course, at Locked On Rockets, free and available wherever you listen to your podcasts, including YouTube. Now, today's episode is brought to you by Nissan. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Check them all out today at nissanusa.com. And as always, thank you so much for making Locked On Rockets part of your day every single day. Thank you for being an everydayer, whether it's on your way to work, on your lunch break, in the gym. Thank you for making the show part of your day every single day. Joining us now for a bittersweet discussion of the Houston Rockets' 112-104 win against the Sacramento Kings is none other than your weekly co-host, NBA draft enthusiast and diehard Houston Rockets fan, Madison Moore, who you could track down on Twitter at MadmanLeaks. Madison, we're going to talk about this Rockets win. It was an impressive comeback victory after they were down by as many as 13 in the first half. They roared back a huge second half for the Rockets. But in this game, with less than 60 seconds to play, Alperen Sengun goes up. Beautiful verticality, might I add, trying to contest a Domantas Sabonis breakaway layup attempt, and lands and is in agonizing, writhing pain on the floor. Dude was grabbing at his knee, and then at one point, the basket mic picked up the audio. And I think it was the basket mic, and you could hear him on League Pass clearly saying, "My ankle is effed up, bro." And there were a couple Turkish fans that shared that he was saying in Turkish while he was in pain before being carted off the floor in a wheelchair. That he said, "I'm finished" in Turkish repeatedly. Ime Udoka did not have an update for us post-game. He did say that Alperen Sengun was undergoing x-rays, so we should know more either late Sunday night or possibly as early as Monday morning. The Rockets are flying back to Houston after this Kings game before they play San Antonio on Tuesday. I don't even know where to begin with this, man. This hurts. This one hurts. Like,
yeah. I mean, way to let, all the air out. The Rockets balloon, man, because the Rockets were, to me, really building something special. The way they had been playing these last, 5 or 6 games has been honestly the best I think they played all season. Even in the beginning stretch, it seemed like everybody was getting better. Everybody understood their roles, and the team was all finally rowing in the same direction. And then we lose our best player, the fulcrum of this team.
Houston sports, baby. Houston sports.
And
can't have anything nice.
We just can't have nice things over here. Literally, we cannot have nice things. And I thought we had a real chance of still making the play in, and I think that is probably whittled away now. So about Alp's injury, I mean, I think this one is going to be at least a grade 2. I'm not an MD. I don't, hopefully it's not as serious.
Can we go back to when you had to say you're not an MD the last time we brought up you being a doctor? Because that was a lot more fun. This time it's just depressing.
Yeah, no, it's just depressing. I mean, to me, it's the height at which he jumped, because it was a beautiful contest, like you said, and he came down full force on that ankle, and most of the energy was blunted in that one leg because the other leg came down second. So we prayers up for Alp, man. Prayers up. I
saw somebody say this, that the way that he landed, right? His ankle might have actually saved his knee a little bit, right? Is the way that he landed on his ankle. There's I pulled the clips, put them on social media. Yeah. There's a still frame from the clip where you can see his ankle was like a 90-degree angle. Not good.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Now, so that's unfortunate. It could be a very, very severe ankle injury, but that's a lot better than a severe knee injury or a crazy hyperextension or a torn ligament or something. Because let's face it, look, it was probably going to be a long shot to try and make the play in this season anyways. At this point, all the worry has to be on next season, right? What this looks like. And so if there's going to be a timetable where surgery is required or some rehabilitation or whatever, you want to make sure that LP is 100% ready to go for the start of next year. And if that means that we're looking at an ankle injury versus a knee injury, ankle injury, a lot easier to come back from. Now, it's confusing because it did look in real time that like he hyperextended his knee. I thought that was the issue. And even when he was laying on the ground at first, it looked like he was holding his knee. And that's where a lot of my concern came from. I was really worried that he had, torn a ligament, an ACL or something. So hopefully now, unfortunately, it could be both, and that would be worst case scenarios if he did do something to his knee and he also messed up his ankle considerably, which is why they had to bring out the wheelchair. They couldn't just, help him walk off under his own weight or, with a couple teammates under each arm or whatever. So the severity to necessitate a wheelchair is rather concerning, but we will find out more, hopefully, late Sunday night, Monday morning, whatever. But definitely prayers up for LP, man. This just sucks all around.
Yeah, I'm hoping that, this injury isn't so bad where he can't have a real off season. Like I hope that he can get back and have a real off season, can work on his game, get strong enough, and actually, begin to add things to his game. I mean, it's a very stressful situation, very sad situation for LP. You could see on his face as he was being wheeled off that he kind of knows,
just head in his hand.
Sometimes you just know, like anybody who's played sports or had a real bad injury or a break or something like that, instantly when this is more than just, just a tough injury. And it seems like he knows. So we're just going to have to pray for him, man. Hopefully he'll come back stronger. Hopefully he'll have enough time to have a real off season. Hopefully he can get healthy, have a real off season, and continue to build on the success. But, as for now, like LP, you've been amazing this season, bro. Like I think he should be so proud of how far he's come this season and really establishing himself as a Rockets cornerstone. And I know he's going to be back and better and stronger. Absolutely.
And look, he has so much to be proud of for what he's done this season, right? Took a massive year 3 leap, cemented himself as a franchise cornerstone moving forward, somebody that you would hopefully want to start building a team around. In talks for most improved player of the year award, all of this, right? Improved his defense, was the anchor of a top 10 defense throughout the entire season. So much to be proud of for this year. Prayers up to LP. Hopefully, it's not as serious as it looked. He's likely done for the season, which takes a lot of the wind out of your sails for talking about this win and for the rest of this Rockets season. But again, we know who he is. We know the type. We talked about it, a couple episodes ago about the type of fight and mentality that he has. His mental makeup is second to none, right? He's got that dog mentality. He's got a star level mentality about the work and what it takes to be great in this league. So regardless of what he faces moving forward, we know that he's going to come out on the other side and be better and stronger for it. So shout out to LP. He played his role in this Rockets comeback. We're going to talk about how the Rockets managed to get back into this game after trailing by as many as 13 and then leading by as many as 20 and then making it a bit of a roller coaster there at the end of the game. We're going to get there in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by Nissan. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the very next corner? Well, our friends over at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capabilities to take your adventure to the next level. The 2024 Nissan Rogue is perfect for city drives and great escapes. Class exclusive Google built-in is your always updating assistant to call in for almost anything. Gone are the days of connecting your phone. Google Assistant, Google Maps, and Google Play Store are built right into the 12.3-inch HD touchscreen right there at your fingertips. The 2024 Rogue is the perfect midsize crossover for your next adventure. Or hey, maybe you want a little bit more space. The 2024 Nissan Pathfinder has room for up to 8, an expansive cargo capacity, and advanced available 4x4 capability with 284 horsepower and up to 6,000 pounds towing. When adventure calls, the Pathfinder is there to answer. Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. And continuing on here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast, home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Now, I will say, as we start off this, we're going to try and bring the energy back a little bit. It did feel like a little bit of maybe a funeral there in segment one, because it just sucks, right? The whole situation kind of sucks. But the Rockets did get a win. This was a big-time win against a very, very good Sacramento Kings team, a team that's not quite as high-octane, as potent as they were last year offensively, but still, I believe, coming into this game, they were 7th or 8th best in the NBA offensive rating. They've been number 2 in the NBA in points scored since the All-Star break. So for the Rockets to be able to turn this game around the way that they did, let's face it, they had a lackluster first quarter. Domantas Sabonis owned them in the first quarter. The physicality was there. He absolutely remembers getting outplayed by Alperen Sengun in their last meetup between these two guys, right? All the memes that were spawned out of that, everybody talking about Sengun is already better than Sabonis, everything. This dude absolutely had this game circled on his calendar, and he came out in a big way in that first quarter. The Rockets were not ready for his physicality. Shout out to Cam Whitmore, who kind of held things down in the second quarter early on with his scoring load, and really the entire bench unit kind of came in and kept the team kind of within striking distance there in that second quarter. Shout out to Jock Landale for some impressive minutes. He's exactly the kind of big you want to be able to bring in, have some good hard fouls, play some physical basketball, the exact kind of big you want to be able to throw at a Sabonis, on a night where maybe Sengun was a little deer in headlights to start the game. And then Fred VanVleet showed up near the end of that second quarter, hit the back-to-back triples, pulled the Rockets within 4, and then third quarter, Madison, Rockets took off, and they did it with defense, man.
Yeah, no, I thought this game was about the Rockets' resilience and about their growth over the course of this season. I mean, to me, this Rockets team has grown in ways that honestly you can't really express all the time. I mean, for them to really, I felt like the Kings and the Kings broadcast talked about this. The Kings had kind of been going through some things, and they had a team meeting, and you can feel the intensity they came out defensively with. I thought that was the best Kings defense that I'd ever seen them play, this iteration of the team, and it felt real playoff level defense. And I thought they came out, hit the Rockets in the mouth, and I thought the Rockets responded excellently. I thought that those guys, they took that and they didn't let that, they could have crumbled under that pressure. And for them to show the fight that they did throughout the course of this game, I was really proud of these guys. I mean, I thought the issues offensively really had to do with a lot with the Kings defense, but also Fred VanVleet has some uncharacteristic turnovers and not enough initiation between Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green of the offense. So once they got that kind of squared away, the offense got to become rolling again. And once, go ahead.
No, you good. Keep going.
Yeah, no. So once it seemed like the guys who needed to initiate the offense, Fred VanVleet, Jalen Green, and Alperen Sengun, our offense got back on track, and then Ime Udoka went in halftime and came out with an excellent defensive plan. I thought the team was more locked in on those screens. They were losing their guys a lot in the misdirection and giving up out a lot of open threes. Then we kind of got lucky that the Kings didn't make. But in the second half, we were more tentative and more physical, and really used that physicality and this ability we have to turn guys over, especially in these second halves. Really just lit up the Rockets offense. And I want to just, give some shout out to Jalen Green because his jump shot wasn't going, but he was consistent at getting to the basket and had some very, very strong finishes. Fred VanVleet came alive in the game, and our offense typically goes as well as Fred VanVleet is able to orchestrate it. And so he had a lot of good assists and made some very tough shots. Good shots at the top of that second half to make it close. And I think that held the Rockets together. And as I'm kind of rambling, but as they got it together in that second half, I thought it was just amazing for them to have a complete 360 and turn that game around and be up by as much as like 15 or 16, I believe.
I think they led by as many as 20 at one point in the game. It was later, like in the fourth quarter, they were up by as many as 20. At least that's what ESPN's let me know. Largest lead 20. No, I apologize. 17 points. I could have sworn I heard 20 on the broadcast, but it's one of those where Fred just had that moment where he like really started to take the game over, right? Defensively, you could see the Rockets kind of like digging in a little bit better. To close the half, there was better energy from the starters to close that game after a really rough first 6 to 8 minutes or whatever. Because again, it was a bad start for the starters. The bench unit kind of came in and they provided a pretty big spark there. Thompson had 13 points. Cam Whitmore with 10 points. He had 7 of them in the first half in that span at the top of the second quarter where he was getting bucket after bucket after bucket. Jock Landale with 9 points, 5 boards, had 4 assists. Jock Landale was good. We're going to talk about the overall kind of bench production as well, but just focusing on Fred here for a moment, right? One of his better games this season, right? 22 points, 9 assists, had a couple steals, had 4 rebounds in there, was 10 of 10 at the free throw line. I thought that was so important for Fred, was he didn't just rely on, okay, I'm going to knock down outside shots, whatever. He had the 2 huge triples to close the gap just before halftime to pull the Rockets within 5. Was it 59-54, I believe, at halftime? And that was huge, right? One of those triples he had from like damn near the logo. It was crazy. It was crazy for out there. Like he pulled up, it was like a heat check, and it's not even like he was like on a roll before that. It was just, he hit one triple and he was like, you know what? I'm pulling up from the logo, whatever. And it went in. And that momentum, I think, really carried the Rockets into halftime. And then it was that third quarter, right? They held the Kings to 14 points in that third quarter. That is a season low for the Sacramento Kings, for them, in a point scored in a quarter. And even though Sabonis was, a monster in that first quarter, I really think that they did a much better job on him as the rest of the game went on. He wound up finishing the game with 9 turnovers. Like, that's a lot of turnovers. He was flirting with a quadruple double because he had 8 dimes and 9 turnovers to go with his 15 rebounds and 25 points. And then when you look outside of Sabonis, right, the defense on the other guys, Harrison Barnes only shot the ball 6 times, 2 of 6, but then up and down the lineup, Keegan Murray, 3 of 11. De'Aaron Fox, 7 of 21. So you want to talk about physicality and the way the Rockets defended him. The combination of Fred VanVleet, Thompson, especially on De'Aaron Fox, like, they really bothered him and put him into some really tough spots. I think he only had, I think it was 1 made field goal in the second half, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have my advanced box scores up, unfortunately, because we're recording this right after the game concluded. But they really made Fox a non-factor. And shout out to all the pundits, all the talking heads who wanted to say that the Houston Rockets would not have 2-0'd the Sacramento Kings earlier this season if De'Aaron Fox was healthy, because clearly it didn't matter in this game. They had a healthy De'Aaron Fox, and the Rockets still punked him in the second half. Yeah, man.
The Rockets just were the better team in the second half, and it was just an impressive showcase. And their defense really has been something they're hanging their hat. You can literally see MA's imprint on the toughness this team is beginning to create for themselves. Just stuff like, the way Jalen Green no longer folds on contact when guys hit him in the chest, and he like sticks with his defender now. He's like slowly just gotten so much better on that end, and it's kind of been overlooked. But also now that we have Amin, this incredible playmaker on defense, and Jabari still having very good active hands, causing a lot of those turnovers when they start to double when Sabonis got 2 feet in the paint. I think that just really got the Rockets going and out and running. And once they're out and running, the Rockets offense literally comes alive. So we got to continue to build on that. And I just feel like that's MA's imprint. That toughness has really begun to translate, and it's starting to come through our young players as well. And as long as our vets are steady, like Fred, getting us through those tough stretches. And so once our young guys, also follow his lead, I think that's when the Rockets come alive.
Want to make sure we spend a little bit of time talking about the bench contributions, especially of the young rooks, Thompson and Cam Whitmore, as well as something that you brought up during the game and just mentioned and just touched on right now about the ability for the Rockets to get out in transition. Only 10 fast break points scored in this game. We're going to get there in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all of that while making the process easy and intuitive. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process even easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnba to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. And final segment here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Now, Madison, you brought up the fast break angle here, and I thought it was interesting because the Rockets are second in the NBA in defending the fast break this season. It's one of the reasons for their huge defensive turnaround. The team that's number one, though, in defending the fast break, Sacramento Kings, and they did a really good job of that in this game. But it was a great point that I'm glad you brought up, because you mentioned it, I believe, during the game about needing to tap into and lean further into Jalen Green's ability on the break. And despite, this game where Jalen was, he was 19 points, 6 of 15, not great from an efficiency standpoint. And I think a big part of that is we've seen over these last, 4, 5, 6 games or whatever, the Rockets have really been making it a point to push the pace, to up the tempo, and to get out and run, especially after getting good defensive stops, right? We talked about this before, is that this Rockets team changed their identity this offseason, right? They became a defense-first identity, and the season started off a little slow because Ime was trying to minimize mistakes. And by minimizing mistakes, he didn't want them running and gunning in transition, because that's where you can get some sloppy plays, some careless turnovers, live ball turnovers that can lead to easy points for the other team. And I think that was a big adjustment for Jalen. But over this, pretty much since the All-Star break, we've seen this Rockets team really embody much more energy in transition, getting out and running a lot more. And so I fully agree with you about that idea of just trying to get Jalen the ball more in transition, right, where it needs to become. I think you said something. Remind me what you said about getting the ball to Jalen.
Yeah, so I tweeted out that there needs to be a rule on this team that when Jalen Green is streaking, you have to outlet to him. You have to outlet when he's ahead of you on a turnover or certain rebounds, right? So certain rebounds are like early shot clock, or then there's just an advantage you get. And Jalen often understands that advantage and gets out streaking, right? And so there's far too often a time, the team actually has gotten a lot better at this, at finding Jalen in transition, but there's still far too often times where guys get the rebound and want to just bring the ball up, right? We've seen Jabari do it several times tonight where he just missed guys. We want to play to Jalen Green's strengths, and it's out in transition in the open floor. And I just think from the Stephen Silas era, the bigs were empowered to rebound and bring the ball up. And I think a bit of that. I'm
getting Christian with PTSD. Don't do this to me, man. So not right now.
Right. And I think Jabari still has a lot of that in him. He knows that he can handle the ball and he knows he can bring it up. But that's not always in the best interest of the team. It's not always playing to your strengths, right? And so I just think you have to identify those things. Hey, yes, I can bring the ball up, but is that the best interest of this team? Number one, Jabari, you don't initiate offense. That's not your role on this team. You're not an initiator of the offense. So if you're bringing the ball up, there needs to be an advantage situation where you are basically on a fast break. And if Jalen Green is streaking past you on the fast break, he gets up the court much faster than you do. You know what I mean? And so I just think that the quicker everybody understands that, hey, like this is where Jalen succeeds. Let's get him the ball in those cases, as well as Cam Whitmore and Amon Thompson, right? Now, all three of them are these just lightning quick, uber athletic players that when they're streaking, when they are running, that we get easy buckets and not many people can actually stop them. So I just want the team to identify that more. And I think they actually have. There were just some moments during the game where I was like, hey, we need to take advantage of getting those easy buckets. And now that Alperen Sengun is going to be missing some time, we really need to lean into that even more, because our half-court offense is going to suffer without Alp in the middle.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one way you can absolutely speed things up is, and not to say that Alp can't play fast. In fact, we made sure to make it a point the last time we talked about the Rockets increasing their paces. Alp absolutely can play fast. He's a guy that, with his vision, even though he's not one of the faster guys on the court, he is a guy that he can get a rebound and go in transition and make something happen as soon as he crosses the half court line, or even with his vision, getting an outlet pass to a streaking Jalen Green or Cam Whitmore. And it is so important, I think, for those guys to, especially for Jalen, right, to get himself going.
Yeah.
We know that he's a rhythm guy. We know that he's a guy that when he's feeling himself, when he's locked in, when he's got the confidence, the swagger, he becomes damn near unguardable. So for him to get those easy transition opportunities, be able to attack using his speed, using his athleticism, and not necessarily having to, fight tooth and nail and claw and be physical through contact and all that, that's not his game. It's great that he's gotten better at it, as the season has gone on. It's great that we're seeing moments where he can drive and can finish through contact. That's never going to be who he is all the time as a player. So you've got to play to your strengths, and using speed and quickness in transition is absolutely a strength of his. So I fully agree with you there. Two other guys that have a lot of speed and quickness and athleticism to their games, Amin Thompson, Cam Whitmore. I really liked the little burst we got from Cam Whitmore at the top of the second, Madison, and I think it screams how much confidence Ime has in him and the coaching staff has in him to just go out there and get buckets, right? They know what he can do, and to the point where, earlier this season, we saw Cam almost exclusively used as an off-ball kind of, play finisher, right? They pitched the ball to him, and he was in charge of either attacking off a closeout or knocking down a wide-open shot. Now we're even seeing plays where the ball is given to Cam at the top of the key, and he's getting screens, and he's getting to attack and, doing dribble pull-ups and all this stuff. Now, does that mean Cam's ever going to, run the offense one day? No, but it's nice to see that they're experimenting with different ways to get him open. Because if you get Cam a Jock Landale screen, which shout out to Jock Landale because he's a very, very effective screening presence. You get him a Jock Landale screen, he didn't get crazy downhill at all this game, but you get him a screen, he's going to get open. He just went for middies this game instead of trying to go all the way to the rack.
And I actually thought that was the right decision from Cam to go for those middies because the Kings were overpacking the paint, and that was what the defense was giving them. And so I thought he took some middies and he knocked them down. And I'm happy. This was one of the things I wanted to see about Cam. We talked about this in an earlier episode when we wanted to see Cam get more minutes, and then he had succeeded in those minutes. And now it's time to get him some on-ball reps to see what he can do with the ball. Let him continue to develop that, because I do think there is an initiator in there. And I do think that Cam has the talent and ability to make every pass in the book. He just now has to get used to it as a young player. That stuff is pretty hard. But right now, his role is a spark plug off the bench. And when we need buckets, and we do need buckets off the bench, our bench unit can struggle sometimes. But today I felt like the bench unit kind of picked us up in the first half. They actually scored with the Kings. They couldn't get a stop, but they actually scored and paced with them. And a lot of that had to do with Cam. So I really appreciate that. But yeah, we just want to continue to foster that, especially with Alperen Sengun is out. We're going to have to lean into getting easy buckets. And the best way to do that is without using our athleticism, get out and run, and continue to be disruptive on the defensive end and cause turnovers.
And watching Amin Thompson too in this game, just seeing his flurry of activity in and around the basket, right? Whether it's on, just rebounding the ball. We talked about, just his presence defensively, especially on, De'Aaron Fox earlier, Malik Monk as well. Even though Monk had 20 off the bench, 8 of 16 to get there, only 2 of 8 from downtown. The Kings really, outside of Sabonis, the Kings had to work for everything that they got. And so credit to the Rockets, defenders really fighting hard over screens, all that stuff. And even the defense on Sabonis forcing the turnovers, right? Where, so many handoffs, so many passes, just little deflections, little tipped passes here and there. The Rockets have these very active hands, and they're able to kind of play passing lanes incredibly well. And they've gotten better and better at that as the season has gone on. But I just love the way that Amin Thompson has really embraced that role, the off-ball role, right? Where he kind of plays along the baseline, kind of runs the baseline a little bit, sitting in the dunker spot, and is ready for those dump-off passes, ready for those, safety valve passes in and around the rim. And our boy hit a 3 in today's game.
Yes, he did.
And we even got the call from Craig Ackerman. Can I get an amen? When he oh, man. Craig's had that in his back pocket all season long and had to bust it out. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, Happy to see that for Amen, man. He continue to shoot the ball, continue to shoot it with confidence, bro. Eventually, they'll start to fall for you. But yeah, so overall, I thought the Rockets did an amazing job. I thought some of my favorite plays of this game was Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun pick and roll. That led to a lot of those Amen backdoor dunks. A lot of times, Jalen doesn't get those assists, but they often get the defense in a type of motion where it's shifting, where you get those type of plays when you just make the extra pass.
I had it here in my notes. There was that one play in the third quarter where it was Jalen initiated. Sengun was on the roll towards the rim. Jalen hit him beautifully with the pocket pass kind of in between two defenders, and then Sengun immediately whips it over to Amen cutting in from the baseline, and it was an easy dunk. So again, a nice hockey assist for Jalen Green there. And I think we kind of glossed over it, but you know, in talking about this comeback, that Jalen Sengun two-man game, especially there in the third quarter, was really important for the Rockets to get back into things. Because again, after a really rough first half for Sengun, he only had 4 points in that first half. Really struggled, I think, with the physicality from Sabonis. Really woke up there in that second quarter. His defense was a lot better. His physicality was a lot better. And then offensively, he started to get into a rhythm. I believe he scored 8 of his 14 points there in that third quarter after only scoring 4 points in the first half. And they went away from him a little bit there in the fourth quarter, but it didn't matter because they had other guys going, and they didn't need to lean on him as much. Other guys were making some shots. They had key guys step up late. It was the zone was a little weird too. That was a little bit concerning, and part of it was just, I don't know. We've seen zone be thrown at the Rockets earlier, or other times this season, and they'll knock down, they'll get lucky, knock some triples, whatever, or carve it up from the inside. The zone definitely had them a little flummoxed, unfortunately, but it wasn't enough to negate the win. The Rockets come back, get a huge come from behind win against the Kings. Again, it's a little bit spoiled, a lot spoiled, honestly, by Alperen Sengun's injury, but we know that he's a fighter. We know he's going to come back stronger, better than ever. Again, prayers up for Alp here. Madison, anything else you want to chime in before we wrap this one up?
Yeah, I mean, on the bright side, when the guy goes down, it's an opportunity for others to step up. It's an opportunity there's a lot of young guys with a lot of talent on this team. It's time for them to step up. It's time for them to, step up to the plate and answer the call. So I'll be excited to see how the Rockets kind of restructure and who steps up to fill in the void that Alperen Sengun is going to leave this season.
It wasn't enough for God to take Tari Eason from us. He had to take Alperen Sengun. This is just, the sports gods are just, they are cruel. It's pain. But you know what? Again, like you said, it's an opportunity for other guys to step up. Hopefully now, with it, more than likely Alperen Sengun likely to miss the rest of the season, I would imagine, based on the severity of how that injury looked. The rest of the season should be about development as much as possible, right? Pushing these young guys, seeing what they have in the tank, seeing, as many minutes as possible across Amen Thompson, Cam Whitmore, Jalen Green, Jabari Smith Jr., right? Seeing what these guys can do, seeing what they have. And hey, one more silver lining here is that Jock Landale finally started to look like he can play basketball again. So it comes at a very, very good time, because at least you've got a guy that you can slot into your starting center position that is a playable starting caliber big. Shout out to Mohawk Jock, because we've got untucked jersey Kyrie Irving, we got Hoodie Mello, and we got Mohawk Jock, because dude, it's the hair. Craig Ackerman talking about it, is really the hair. He went back to the Mohawk, and dude can actually ball again. So it's something that I don't know if he's like, if being bald, he didn't have quite the aerodynamics that he had on the Mohawk or what, but it's he even hit another 3, right? So it was a good game for Jock Landale. But on that note, Madison, you know the drill. Let me know where they can track you down at.
Yeah, you can follow me on @MadmanLeaks on Twitter. I love to talk Rockets basketball.
That's going to do it for another edition of Locked On Rockets. As always, thank you so much for checking out the show. If you haven't done so yet, please consider subscribing wherever you listen to your podcasts, or on YouTube. Just search Locked On Rockets. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And we look forward to having you back right here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball.